First of all, I want to tell you, I've been a fan since American Pie, man.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, I think you're incredibly talented, and I love what you bring to these kinds of films.
Thank you.
Talk about what was it about Kevin? How did you know he could pull this off as well as he does here?
Kevin had a supporting role in Little Fockers, which is perhaps my greatest work. And But one of the things that I came away from that movie with was on the last day of filming, Kevin doesn't remember this, but I went up to him and I said, "I don't just think you're a good comedic actor. I think you're a good actor, period." And While he doesn't remember it, I did remember it. So when they told me that they were talking to Kevin Hart about doing this movie, which is based on it's a memoir by Matt Logelin,
Mhm.
who's from Minnesota, has a very different background from Kevin. Um, I I that's what made me want to do it, honestly, was that it was Kevin. I'd also, I watched The Upside and I thought he was really great in that. And
Yeah.
in a role that could have been very easy to overact in, he really handled it like beautifully. Um, and I read his autobiography, which has a lot of really heavy stuff in it, but that is very funny.
Oh.
I felt, yeah, like this guy can do it, and he makes me want to do it because it's going to focus it on what's the most sort of universal part of this. And then also, while I was working on the script, I worked with Kevin, and I would, with anybody, and especially in this case, I would say, what's fake here? What doesn't work? What do you think this character? What have I not expressed about this character? And he was a great partner for that.
Oh.
So my only doubts were about myself. I had no doubts about Kevin.
Well, I have no doubts about you, man. Especially think these kinds of stories with About a Boy as well. You have a tendency to find that those kind of connections, those human connections that I think that a lot of filmmakers have trouble finding. Why was this story so important to you? Telling the story.
I really like to try to learn stuff while I'm making a film. I mean, I think you have to have ulterior motives when you make a film, because you don't know whether the film is going to work or not. You don't know whether it's going to be your best work. You can't control how people react to it. So you better have something else going on.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm a parent and I wanted to learn some stuff about parenting. And also I'm really interested in stories about people who are doing something that they're not particularly suited to do
Mm.
and have to fake it and then hopefully become the thing that they're faking. And this seemed like the epitome of that. I mean, I think every parent, especially when you're your first kid, I thought it was really universal. I can remember not knowing how the heck I was going to be a parent to my kid. I remember my dad at the end of his life confessing to me that he didn't think he was going to be able to cope with bringing up a kid. And he was a sort of biblically intense person.
Wow.
But she did a great job and gave me certain things. And so there's like a little scene in the movie where Frankie Faison, who I've actually now done 5 movies with, as Kevin's father-in-law, tells him the one piece of advice I can give you is let go. And I kind of wanted to give myself that piece of advice. So yeah, that's what I was after.
Well, I think that there's a universal truth to that is that people forget there's no handbook on parenting, and
Yeah.
there's no right or wrong. You just have to find a way that works for you. I mean, even DeWanda said it really well. It's like we parenting isn't what it used to be,
Yeah, yeah.
really.
I mean, yeah, she is so great, actually. And
Oh, so good.
I loved in that character. There's a point where they're starting to date, and she tells him, "I'm fine on my own," which is not usually the stuff of romantic scenes. But I thought it was so important that she, as somebody who's coming into this relationship and starting a relationship with his daughter, with
Hmm.
Millie Hurd, has to be self-sufficient. And I completely believe that coming from DeWanda, that she's somebody who's capable of giving love, but also is completely okay with being on her own.
Yeah, no, I agree. And honestly, this is a really, really beautiful film, and I
Thank you.
congratulations, Paul. I'm
Wow.
very impressed with it.
Wow.
Very
Thank
impressed
you.
with it.
Thanks so much. Thanks.
Thanks, man. I can look forward to the next one.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Dude, what a great performance you've got here. I love this character so much. How did you get involved?
Well, I mean, I read the script and I was immediately taken by it. I was like, wow, this is something really special because it's not often that you get to read a movie that basically does it all. I mean, you cry, but then like the next scene, you're just like laughing hysterically. And even in the script, that was apparent. So I knew off the bat that it was going to be something special. And with this stellar cast, I mean, it elevates it even more.
Paul has been a really good. I love the way his approach to films like this, stories like this. What did you find working with Paul as a filmmaker and finding the right beats for making this such a relatable, beautiful character?
Well, the wonderful thing about working with Paul is he's so he's so curious. He's such a curious director, and you get directors where they have such a specific idea in mind of like what this is going to be, and I think Paul has such an openness to him that he's just kind of curious as to what's going to come out and what's going to be the best version of something. So it's a testament of him of his talent that he can just kind of trust the moment and trust what's going to kind of the best thing is gonna show up.
Nice. Now, you've had some success recently with Barry, and has that opened up your world to kind of getting new and exciting opportunities that maybe weren't there before?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, that it's, Barry's been such a wonderful blessing and such a cool job to work on. And it certainly has. I mean, getting to work on Fatherhood. I mean, I remember, coming in and my first meeting with Paul, it's like we talked about Barry and, my Chechen character. But it's opened a lot of doors and built some great momentum.
How much are you like this guy?
Oscar.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a little bit more than I would kind of care to. I tend to talk really nervously, just on and on and on, and not really know exactly where I'm going. But I mean well. So I certainly I can relate to that part of it, because Oscar certainly means well. He tries to be a good friend to Matt through this difficult time that he's going through, and I think that's what's important, I think.
Well, it's funny because this movie feels so. I'll be honest. Like the first 10 minutes, I was just like, I can't do it. I'm so emotional. Why? These characters are so very real. Who did you relate to, if not, maybe not more so than your own character? Was there someone you connected with?
Well, I certainly think that in terms of Matt, Kevin Hart's character, there is this. I think that everyone can kind of see when someone is coping with just so much and having to deal with a really difficult experience and have like a huge responsibility. Maybe it's not having a kid, but maybe it's just having some sort of obligation where you're stretched pretty thin. I think everyone can kind of relate to that on a certain level. It's very universal. And it's always just very uplifting to kind of see how they're going to do it. So there's something cathartic about watching this journey.
Well, it's also uplifting too because we just went through a very interesting year, and it's nice to see something that is filled with hope and positivity, even in the dark times.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's, that's kind of all I want to see right now. It has been. It's been a weird year, a dark year. We've all been very disconnected from each other. So to see a film about, especially about, essentially like a family of, not just family, but friends and the whole village coming together to support someone is, it's a beautiful message. And it's, I think, what's desperately needed right now.
Yeah, and it's a great cast, and thank you, man. It was a pleasure talking to you. You're a great guy.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, man.
All right, cheers.